No one questioned why David always checked the weather, why his eyes lit up when crossing high bridges, until the bus went out of control and ended up at the edge of the cliff. David Miller was 46 years old and had been working as a bus driver for Denver Metro Transit for 5 years. Tall, lean, always neatly shaved and known for his clean uniform. He drove Route 15, a scenic route that stretched from downtown to the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. His coworkers knew David as calm and reliable. He was never late, never complained, kept his cool in traffic. But he had certain habits that everyone found strange. Every morning before his shift, he would check the weather in detail, noting wind speed, pressure, and visibility. "David, this bus isn't an airplane," Terminal Supervisor Mike Rodriguez would say. "Weather isn't that important." David would smile and not answer. But when crossing Jefferson Bridge, his eyes would always look up, studying the clouds, calculating wind direction, as if he were still flying at 35,000 feet. The truth was, David Miller had been a commercial airline pilot for 15 years. He had served as captain at United Airlines, flying Boeing 747s and 777s over the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Thousands of flights, millions of miles, hundreds of thousands of passengers. He had a perfect safety record. No accidents, no incidents. Why had he quit? Because of what happened on Flight 4825 5 years ago. On a flight from New York to London, over the Atlantic, they had experienced a sudden electrical failure. The autopilot system had crashed, navigation systems were down, and the lives of 280 passengers were in David's hands. With manual control, using only experience and instinct, David had safely landed the plane in Dublin. He was declared a hero in the media, received awards, everyone applauded him. But that night when David lay in bed, all he could think was, what if I hadn't succeeded? PTSD, anxiety, responsibility phobia, the fear of holding hundreds of people's lives in his hands. David had suspended his pilot's license and ended his aviation career. When he moved to Denver, he just wanted a normal life. Bus driving, just on the road, just under his own control. This Monday morning, David was preparing for Route 15. He checked the weather. Wind 15 miles per hour westerly, visibility 10 miles, light snow expected. He tested his bus, brakes, steering, lights, engine. Everything was normal. At his first stop, the usual suspects boarded. Young student Jennifer Walsh, studying engineering at Colorado College. Elderly Mrs. Patterson, going to the market. Office worker Bob Martinez, working at a downtown bank. David knew them all, knew all their stories. Route 15 was beautiful, but also dangerous. After leaving the city, it climbed through mountainous terrain, crossing Jefferson Bridge, 200 feet high, over Royal Gorge. Then it turned onto Mountain View Road to reach the suburban area. It had a total of 35 stops. As David approached Jefferson Bridge, his eyes scanned the sky as usual. The wind seemed to have strengthened. The clouds were thickening. On his left wing, no. In his left mirror, he noticed a truck following too closely. In the middle of the bridge, David heard a change in the engine sound. Very subtle, most drivers wouldn't notice. But with his pilot's ear, David could detect the smallest changes in engine performance. Shit, he thought. Hydraulic pressure was dropping. Just then, it started snowing. Fast and heavy. Visibility suddenly dropped from 50 meters to 20 meters. David's pulse quickened, but he kept his hands steady. Pilot instincts were kicking in. After crossing the bridge, a steep downhill began on Mountain View Road. 12% grade, 3 miles long. David pressed the brake pedal. The response was soft. The hydraulic system was failing. "Ladies and gentlemen," David said into the microphone, his voice calm and authoritative, just like pilot announcements. "Due to weather conditions, we're slowing down a bit. Please hold tightly to your handrails." Passengers started laughing. "David, there are no seat belts on the bus," said Jennifer, but alarm bells were ringing in David's mind. Steep downhill, failed brakes, heavy snow, sharp curve ahead. 28 passengers. He had one chance. David took the microphone again, but this time his voice was different, full of command authority. Everyone listen. Emergency procedure. Everyone sit in the nearest seat, grab the handrails, assume heads-down position. This is not a drill. Passengers felt the seriousness in David's voice. Panic didn't start because David's tone was confident and controlled. Pilot training. Crisis management. When the brakes completely failed, David pulled the emergency brake. It helped, but wasn't enough. Speed was 45 miles per hour and increasing. Ahead was a sharp hairpin curve, followed by a 300-foot drop. Pilot calculations began in David's mind. Speed, angle, momentum, physics. He found a solution, but it was risky. On the left side was an emergency runaway truck ramp. Uphill, filled with loose gravel designed to stop vehicles. But it wasn't designed for buses. David was going to use it. "Everyone hold on tight," David shouted. Making a sharp left turn, he directed the bus onto the ramp. G-force pressed passengers to the side, but David kept the steering wheel steady. The bus entered the gravel. Momentum began to decrease. But it was still too fast. David used his last chance. Controlled crash. He crashed the bus into the dirt embankment but adjusted the angle so it wouldn't roll, just slide to a stop. Metal screeching, glass breaking, then silence. David first took the radio. "Control, this is Bus 347. Emergency landing completed. Passengers safe, minor injuries possible. Need ambulance and rescue team. Mountain View Road, mile marker 12 inches. "David, did you just say emergency landing?" asked the dispatcher. "Copy. Emergency stop. Request immediate assistance." Passengers were shook up, but there didn't seem to be serious injuries. David's precision maneuvering had worked. Jennifer Walsh looked at David. "David, how did you do that?" David smiled. "Lucky guess." But Mrs. Patterson, the elderly lady, seemed to recognize David. "Son, aren't you a pilot? I recognized your voice. I'd seen you on television." David hesitated. 5 years of hiding was coming to an end. "Used to be," he said. "Long time ago." When emergency responders arrived, everyone who saw the scene was amazed. The bus was perfectly positioned for maximum protection. It was like a professional emergency landing. Fire Chief Tom Anderson spoke with David. "Sir, this maneuvering was incredible. How did you know the exact angle, exact speed?" "Experience," David said simply. But Anderson insisted. David finally told the truth. Captain David Miller, retired. United Airlines, 15 years commercial aviation. News spread quickly. Local media came. Hero bus driver saves 28 lives with pilot skills. David didn't want publicity, but the story was too big. Jennifer Walsh gave an interview. "David isn't just a bus driver. He's a real pilot. He saved us." Manager Alice Thompson from Denver Metro Transit spoke with David. "David, why didn't you tell me you were a pilot?" "Because I'm not a pilot anymore, Alice. I'm a bus driver. Ordinary job, ordinary life. But what I did today was a job requirement, transporting passengers safely." Alice smiled. "David, you're not ordinary. You're a guardian angel." Weeks later, David was made an offer. Regional airline, training position, chance to return as a pilot. High salary, prestige, return to the sky. David declined. "Why?" asked the airline representative. "Because I'm needed here," said David. "These people, Route 15 passengers, they're my crew now. I want to transport them safely every day." Jennifer Walsh, now David's regular passenger, thanked him every day. "David, you're really a hero." "No, Jennifer," said David. "I'm just a driver. But good pilots don't just get you to your destination safely, they also make the journey safe." Months later, David was still working Route 15. But now passengers looked at him differently. Respect, admiration, trust. David also felt differently about himself. The fear was gone. Purpose had returned. Did he miss the sky? Sometimes. But making a difference in these people's lives on the ground was also meaningful. One day, a young boy told David he wanted to be a pilot. David began teaching him aviation basics, weather reading, safety procedures, importance of responsibility. "Being a pilot isn't just about flying," said David. "Being a pilot means being protective, being responsible, always being ready." "Are you still a pilot now?" asked the child. David smiled, looking at Route 15's steering wheel. "Yes. I just use a different aircraft." David Miller had descended from sky to ground, but he was still flying, just at a different altitude, and most importantly, still saving lives, one passenger at a time. And today, I ask you, do you know someone in your life who uses their skills in a different environment, adapting their past expertise for a new purpose? Share their stories in the comments. If this story touched you, don't forget to subscribe. We share such transformation and hidden skills stories every week.